Well, I met Declan, and I suppose it must be 6, 7 years ago. And actually, even before that, I was actually a parents group in Belvedere College, and Declan came in to talk. And I think that was the first time I actually heard him as a parent sitting listening to him. I found him really interesting. And then later, when I was working with primary school principals and deputies in our professional development programs, we needed someone to talk to them around the area of personal motivation, personal effectiveness. And I immediately thought of Declan. And I thought of him in terms of what I felt that night when I listened to him and what he could bring to them. So I suppose it was round his own deep personal conviction. The fact that of the strategies and techniques he talked about in terms of it were ones he had tried and tested himself. So I was struck then by just the authenticity of the lived experience that he brought and how it resonated with me, and felt that that would transfer very well to these people in leadership who needed to lead their own communities. And of course, the one technique that stood out for me with Declan was the green platform, where he talked about this personal responsibility we had of making choices about how we wanted to approach life and its problems, and taking that green stance, as he put it, which was the positive approach. He just took something else, or tapped into something else within me. And I think for me in my work, it certainly made me more responsive. And I think the fact that he was such a communicator, and had such compassion around his area, and his ability to communicate that, to story tell around his own life journey and how he met his difficulties, and just the relevance of that to everyone. For school leaders, building a green school based on the platform is probably the strongest compelling vision that you could offer school leaders, because it's all about growth and potential. It's allowing people to prosper, to fulfill their life's ambitions. And just Declan, for me, kind of encapsulates a whole lot of that. I think they were hugely impressed with the commitment that he had, that compassion for pain and suffering, how to manage it. And they came away kind of full of almost his presence, you would say, but deeper than that, almost that he had touched them at a level where they themselves were perhaps changed in some way by having encountered Declan. I think what he brought to them was a realisation that life is seldom perfect, and I suppose our own personal responsibility towards how we deal with it, and having conviction round that we can make things better, and if we do, then it's up to ourselves. So he did give them a big message of personal responsibility. So if they wanted their schools going in a certain direction, then actually they needed to do that. And I think from some of the feedback from them, the responsibility for their staffs and their well-being, for their own life balance in how they approach their work and putting balance back into it, and the importance of their other commitments in life. I think Declan, in a sense, for them, in the person of a leader, changed them. Or at least they felt, going back, that their own appreciation of what they were doing, as demanding as it was really worthwhile. Oh, I would totally recommend him, because I think a lot of people working in the area can, and I suppose maybe it's your approach to it and how well do you listen to somebody like that. And the challenge is always, how do I communicate that message out there? And am I just another self-help book come along to tell you something? But I think what Declan brings is maybe through his own ability to focus our attention, to support us along the way. He has a lovely mentoring, coaching approach in how he does it. He's not telling you what to do, but yet he's shining a light on what maybe you might need to do. So it's almost like taking you by the hand. And that to me is a unique way of communicating the message. And I think maybe that he brings that authenticity. And to me, it's about authenticity. Do you believe what he says? Is it part of who he is? And it certainly is.